We are very much delighted to have Professor Pradeep Mallik, Professor, School of Liberal Studies, Pandit Deendayal Energy University, Gandhinagar, in the realms of language, literature and aesthetics, and also mass communication. Professor Pradeep Mallik is a familiar face, is a familiar figure whose name is taken with respect and reverence. And at present, he is working at Pandit Deendayal Energy University, Gandhinagar, wherein he is guiding innumerable scholars, and he has also guided so many scholars, those who are now placed in different sectors, and particularly his gracious presence has added luster to this program. I take the privilege to request Professor Pradeep Mallik ji to kindly address the congregation.
Thank you for the kind, generous words of introduction. Honorable Ma'am Speaker, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Chairman of the Conclave, and my dear friend, Organizing Secretary. It's a privilege to stand before you, and I have this unenviable task of kind of summing up 3 days of deliberations here, 5 plenary sessions, 1 memorial lecture, and about 100 research papers down the road. We are here to celebrate and mark the valedictory of this 3-day 9th edition of National Media Conclave, in the hope that we meet again to mark a decade of this conclave. A big round of applause from my end, and I'm sure for all of you, to the organizing team led by none less than Professor Pandit, and the person who is always behind all this. He doesn't come on the stage, this is only the second time that we are seeing him on the stage, but because he's always in the war room, Manoranjan Panda. Always in the war room preparing for the next step, next day. And trust me, I know, once this gets over, he'll start preparing for the next edition also, because all of us know that the next one is going to be a decade of this conclave, and all of us are looking forward to that huge celebration. So, since I have this unenviable task of summing up all this, and also talk about the takeaways, I'll take a few minutes. Professor Pandit has already spoken about the 5 plenary that we had, and it's all there in your book of abstract as well as the 3-day program schedule. We all began with this conclave, and as usual, this is a conclave as against a conference. Conclave is generally a shorter gathering, a closer gathering, a small group gathering of people who deliberate upon things, come up with a solution to some problem, and recommend it to the power that be, to the institution that be, in the hope that it brings some solution to the issues that society is facing. So I think we have done a good job once again. A big round of applause to the organizing team and to yourself, all of you who have contributed, who have been contributed, and I'm very sure will continue to contribute to this conclave. So, how we started with this, the theme for this was communication 5.0. Popularly, they call it 5.0, 5.0. The theme was about the artificial intelligence, the synthetic data, media forensics, and of course, all the issues, the positives and the negatives associated with all these things. So, we began with what is AI, as simple as that. What is AI? Yes, all of us probably know what is AI, but we still discussed what is AI. We began with that. And then we talked about this generative AI, which is creating havoc. Most of the speakers, they talked about the negatives of generative AI, and at the same time, we also accepted that like any technology, like any disruption, anything new in society, it has something positives also. And even if it is negative, we have to look at the positives, because as they say, technology, like water, will find its level. You can't resist water. You can't bound it. You can't resist technology. You can't bound it. It will continue to grow. It will continue to flow. Point is, how do we use it for the betterment of us, betterment of our society, betterment of our nation, and the entire humankind? So we started off with what is AI, how it functions and all, and we did take a look at how AI functions really, and we talked about generative adversarial network. Today we talked about C2PA, collaborative partnership for provenance and accountability. We talked about that. So starting from what AI is, how it functions, to today's last session where we talked about the trust and mistrust in AI, the credibility, the crisis of credibility. In that, what we have discussed, what we have known, but we only reiterated the role that social media is playing in all this. A lot of this content, thanks to the use, misuse, whatever it is, thanks to this phenomenon, a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and many a time malinformation is being spread. And most of the time we find that the platforms are these social media platforms. Has technology democratized the media sphere? Many of us, we feel yes, it has democratized. To the extent that some people have started calling it's no longer democracy, it is datacracy. We did hear this term during our deliberations here. Now, since social media, it tends to, when it is spreading messages, because it needs to spread messages fast, we all realized lies many a time move faster than the truth. Famously, they say by the time lie has traveled, by the time the truth has pulled up its socks, the lie has traveled half the globe. So point is that most of the time these platforms, they reduce the data and the stamp behind this digital data to such an extent that it can spread faster. And there comes the problem of identifying. There comes the issue of media forensics. We did discuss that also. And we realized that it is needed, and it was reiterated in today's last plenary session. Can we have something like nutritional level, digital level, label on media products, so that we can know, just like in product, what's the country of origin. So a data set or a certain piece of information, what is its origin? Which all stages it went through, which all stages this set of data or the piece of information was edited. Sometimes this editing could be tampering with an intention. So what stage it was tampered with and how it has reached me. And once we know this, see, technology is there will be users and there will be misusers. But if we know the process, if we know the stages it has come to us, like it used to happen in journalism, I am aware of the word, I very consciously used the term, used to happen in journalism. We would give information in the hope that we are able to mold public opinion and people will form their own opinion instead of we giving the truth. We give them pieces of information from different perspectives and hope that they will form their opinion, come to a conclusion on their own. So similarly, if we know these stages of media, of information reaching us through one of those media mediated information, if we know that, probably we will be able to, and we must trust our intelligence, we will be able to understand what is the truth and come to our own conclusion. All this brings us to the issue of trust and hence media literacy. We talked about media, the trust and the losing trust in media. The tragedy is that one person, one institution or one platform commits some error, and it affects the entire media spectrum. All the players get started looking at with suspicion. Many years ago, centuries ago in fact, I'm just stretching the analogy, John Donne, a priest, a preacher, but also celebrated poet of the 17th century, he wrote that, he gave that sermon, which, it was a sermon, mind you, but it was such a beautiful sermon, it became a poem, and people still quote it, and I'm quoting John Donne. Pardon me, I may be a word or two here, but it's an extension. I'm just, as I said, it's an extension of this analogy. If a clod be washed away by the sea, the England is less, as well as promontory were, as well of a manner of thy own or thy friend's own where. I'm sorry, I'm not able to tell you exactly, but I'm telling you the essence of this. So never send to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. He ends it there. There is no point in talking about which platform does what. There is no point in talking about which individual does what. Point is that whatever they are doing, it is affecting us, and we should be concerned about that. And as speakers and experts and scholars, they told us that ultimately it boils down to our own conscience, our own wisdom. We have to build, we cannot be dependent on this algorithm-driven media to tell us what is true or what is not. What we should be believing and what we should not be believing. We have to trust our own conscience, we have to trust our own wisdom, and for that we have to build that wisdom. And for that comes the role of media literacy. Today morning, yesterday, and the inaugural session, all we were talking about the importance of media literacy and digital literacy also. So ultimately it boils down to that we have to take command of ourselves, how we consume, what we consume, and come up with a set of norms which Professor Pandit was just about talking about, not just for the government, sir. Yes, government does play a big role. It will continue to play a big role in democracy and open society. But for us also, we, the professionals, we do come together collectively. We have lots of professional bodies. Collectively, we come together. We formulate a set of norms, a set of ethical behavior, how we are going to use AI for ourselves, for our society, and for the betterment of our nation. I think that's the takeaway from this 3-day media conclave. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of summarizing everything. It's impossible to summarize, but I'm sure, as Professor Pandit has said, there will be a set of recommendations which will be sent to all those who are concerned about AI and the use of AI. And let us hope, and I'm sure we'll work towards adoption of those sets of norms. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of summing up and listening to me patiently. Thank you very much.